Welcome to my video. Please subscribe to my channel. In May 2025, tensions between India and Pakistan exploded after a terror attack in Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir, killing 26 civilians. The resistance front, linked to Lashkar-e-Taiba, claimed responsibility, igniting outrage across India. The Indian government, led by Prime Minister Modi, launched Operation Sindoor, a series of targeted strikes on terror camps in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and even inside Pakistan. This marked a dramatic escalation, with both nuclear-armed nations engaging in fierce military exchanges. Reports emerged of intense air battles and downed fighter jets, raising global alarm. The world watched anxiously as the conflict threatened to spiral into full-scale war. Operation Sindoor signaled a new, aggressive Indian strategy, preemptive strikes against terror threats. For Pakistan, it was a direct challenge to its sovereignty. The risk of miscalculation was immense, with the specter of nuclear conflict looming. Amid this crisis, the United States, under President Trump, saw the urgent need to intervene. The fear, a nuclear exchange between two bitter rivals. The U.S. has always viewed India-Pakistan tensions with deep concern, especially over Kashmir. Both nations possess nuclear weapons, making any conflict a potential global catastrophe. Operation Sindoor set off alarm bells in Washington. Two nuclear powers were now in open combat. U.S. officials feared the fighting could escalate beyond conventional warfare, risking nuclear use. The breakdown in communication between India and Pakistan heightened the danger of a catastrophic miscalculation. President Trump and his team saw an urgent need to restore dialogue and prevent disaster. The U.S. also had major strategic and economic interests in South Asia. A war would destabilize the region and disrupt global trade. Trump's administration viewed the crisis as a direct threat to American security and prosperity. The decision to intervene was driven by fears of nuclear war, regional chaos, and global instability. America believed only outside mediation could pull both sides back from the brink. The stakes: humanitarian disaster, economic turmoil, and the risk of nuclear fallout. As the conflict raged, President Trump called Prime Minister Modi with a blunt warning. Trump made it clear the U.S. would not tolerate further escalation. He linked the crisis directly to U.S.-India trade, threatening to halt negotiations and impose crippling tariffs if India didn't de-escalate. Trump reportedly told Modi, "You guys are going to end up in a nuclear war." The message: stop the fighting or face severe economic consequences. Trump's approach was direct and transactional, using America's economic power as leverage. He threatened tariffs so high, your head's going to spin, making the cost of conflict clear. This was classic Trump diplomacy: personal, forceful, and impossible to ignore. He wanted India to understand that military action would jeopardize its economic future. Trump's goal was to force a strategic rethink in New Delhi. The warning was not just about trade, it was about averting a nuclear disaster. Trump's intervention was unprecedented in its bluntness. He believed economic threats would be more effective than diplomatic appeals. The call put India's military strategy and economic stability on a collision course. The world waited to see if Modi would back down. Trump didn't just pressure India, he delivered a similar ultimatum to Pakistan. He warned Islamabad that continued hostilities would trigger massive U.S. tariffs and a halt to all trade talks. The message was simple: stop the fighting, or face economic isolation. For Pakistan, already struggling economically, the threat was serious. Trump's trade for peace doctrine was clear: the U.S. can't do business with countries at war. He positioned America as a neutral arbiter, using economic leverage instead of picking sides. The goal was to make peace more attractive than war for both nations. Trump's threats were designed to force both governments to reconsider their actions. He believed economic pain would succeed where diplomacy had failed. The U.S. strategy raised the cost of war until de-escalation became the only option. Both India and Pakistan now faced a stark choice: peace or economic punishment. India's response was swift denial. Modi's government insisted no foreign leader influence their decisions. India claimed the ceasefire was a sovereign choice, achieved through direct talks with Pakistan. Acknowledging U.S. pressure would have been politically damaging for Modi. Pakistan's response was more muted, neither confirming nor denying Trump's claims. This ambiguity allowed Pakistan to benefit diplomatically without contradicting the U.S., the result: two conflicting narratives: Trump's claim of decisive intervention versus India's assertion of independence. The truth likely lies somewhere in between, highlighting the complexities of international diplomacy. National pride and political necessity shaped both countries' public stances. Despite the rhetoric, the fighting ended on May 10, 2025, after a direct call between Indian and Pakistani military leaders. The ceasefire brought immediate relief, averting the threat of nuclear war. Border regions returned to a fragile calm, but deep mistrust lingered. President Trump claimed credit, touting his trade threats as the reason for peace. India and Pakistan focused on damage control and future strategy. The ceasefire was not a peace treaty, just a pause in a long, bitter conflict. Underlying issues, including terrorism and territorial disputes, remained unresolved. The crisis became a political tool for Trump, who cited it as proof of his diplomatic strength. For India and Pakistan, the episode was another reminder of their volatile relationship. The world was left wondering when the next flashpoint would erupt. Behind the scenes, the U.S. took a major step against terrorism. In June 2025, the U.S. officially designated the Resistance Front, TRF, the group behind the Pahalgam attack, as a terrorist organization. This move, announced by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, carried serious legal and financial consequences for the TRF. It was a clear gesture of solidarity with India, validating its concerns about cross-border terrorism. The designation froze TRF assets and banned U.S. citizens from supporting the group. Even as Trump threatened India with tariffs, his administration targeted the root cause of the crisis. The action highlighted the complex U.S.-India relationship: pressure and partnership, conflict and cooperation. For India, it was a diplomatic win. For the U.S., a demonstration of commitment to fighting global terrorism. The move reinforced the principle that terrorism would not be tolerated. The U.S. balanced its push for peace with concrete action against those fueling the violence. The TRF designation was a key outcome of the crisis. Despite the ceasefire, U.S.-India economic tensions escalated. In August 2025, the Trump administration imposed a massive 50% tariff on Indian goods, citing India's oil purchases from Russia. The timing suggested the tariffs were also linked to the recent crisis. These were the highest U.S. tariffs on any Asian country, sending a strong message to New Delhi. India responded with defiance. Prime Minister Modi called for economic self-reliance and promoted made-in-India goods. Rather than retaliate, India rallied around Swadeshi, aiming to reduce dependence on foreign trade. The 2025 crisis left a legacy of fragile peace, a U.S. terror designation, and a deepening trade war. Trump claimed his threats averted nuclear war. India insisted the ceasefire was their own doing. The future of U.S.-India relations remained uncertain, shaped by both confrontation and cooperation. The world watched as two great democracies navigated a new era of rivalry and uneasy partnership.